Hey everyone, Kelly Mahler, occupational therapist, and I'm back again, this time to talk about interoception, which is the sense of how our body feels and its influence on daily participation. There's so many things that we do in our daily lives that help us to function, that help us to have meaning in life, and interoception plays a very vital role in many of those aspects or activities that we do. And many times, especially as occupational therapy providers, we focus on helping our clients to participate in these activities that are meaningful to them on a daily basis. And we get so focused on the doing that many times we don't consider interoception influence in the feeling of how these activities feel in our body. And interoception many times provides this sense of motivation, this urge to act that kind of gets us inspired and working towards certain activities. So our body lets us know many times how it's doing, what it needs. Does it need food? Does it need sleep? Does it need rest? Does it need quiet? And so these internal sensations give us important information about how our body feels, and it provides this urge to act, this urge to engage in many daily activities. And also it gives us information about how to engage in those daily activities in a way that feels safe, that feels regulating to our body. That's what interoception is really all about. And so when a person has a breakdown in noticing or understanding or trusting their body signals, it really can create some barriers in participation. And so we need to be very cognizant of interoception and its influence on daily life. And that's what I'd love to talk a little bit more in detail about today. And so let's break it down and talk about some activities that we do on a daily basis and how interoception might play a role. So first, let's talk about toileting. Interoception is a big deal to toileting. For many people, they describe a sensation-driven process that kind of urges them to act, that gets them to the toilet, to void. So maybe you notice a certain sensation in your body that lets you know when you need to pee, or you notice a certain sensation, and many times it's a different sensation that lets you know when you need to poop. But that sensation kind of spurs us into action. It motivates us to get us to the toilet. And then interoception also gives us information about how to toilet in a way that feels comfortable and safe to our bodies. Do we need our feet planted firmly on the ground in order to feel stable and safe? What kind of toilet paper feels safe and regulating to our bodies? When we do clean ourselves, do we feel clean? Or is it still a little bit in need of more wiping? So there's so many ways that interoception influences the activity of toileting that we really need to be aware of. All right, the next area that interoception is very influential is feeding and eating. And for many people, interoception provides that internal motivation, that sensation-driven process of knowing when our body needs food, when our body has had enough food. So it's like those sensations are really underlying when we feel hungry or satiated or full. It also gives us information about what foods feel safe to our bodies, what foods do not feel safe, what foods might cause internal, maybe gut pain, gas, nausea, etc. So there's so many different factors that interoception provides us, or so much information that interoception provides us when it comes to feeding and eating. So again, it needs to be a very important consideration when supporting participation in this area. All right, moving on to sleep. Sleep's a big deal, right? And many people struggle with sleep. And let's talk about a little bit about how interoception might influence our participation in sleep. So for some people, that sleepiness might show up as a sensation within the body, maybe noticing a certain feeling like a foggy brain, or maybe heavy eyes or sluggish muscles. It's going to be different for every single person, but noticing those clues and using them as a sign that this is the ideal sleep window for me. This is the time when I need to get to bed. And missing those clues often for many people can lead to that missed window of sleep and not getting to bed during that time, getting overly tired, which many times then can result in overstimulation and then a lot of difficulty falling asleep. Interoception also helps us to learn about our body and what things bring our body to a place that we can fall asleep, what things feel regulating to our body, what things bring our energy levels down so that we can reach that place of unconsciousness for sleep. Next, let's talk about sexuality. Interoception is emerging as a hot topic in sexuality. It's really becoming mainstream. And if you think about many aspects of sexuality, there is a lot of sensations delivered in many aspects of this area. And it really gives us information about what things might feel safe, what things feel pleasurable. Interoception really influences the idea of consent and what things feel okay to our bodies, what things are we okay with. And so it's really important to be tuned into our signals so that we can enjoy and have healthy sexuality. Interoception is really instrumental in that process. Let's talk about the next role, parenting. Oh my goodness. Speaking as a parent, currently I have a parent of 2 teenage daughters. Interoception plays a big role in my parenting journey, and knowing how I feel, being really aware and present of how I feel, which isn't always easy, I'm just going to admit, but really being aware of what I'm bringing to the table, especially when I am supporting my daughters that sometimes might be dysregulated, and can I bring a strong and calming presence in our co-regulation cycle. So do I understand how my body feels and how my body is contributing to the dynamic that is between my daughters and myself? Am I taking care of my own needs so that I can show up to be the best parent I can be? And that's really hard, especially really understanding my own interoception boundaries and respecting those boundaries, like honoring when my body needs rest. That's not always possible on certain days when I need to keep going and going because it's something my family needs, and I'm really working hard on putting some more boundaries in place and really taking care of my own interoception needs so that I can be a better parent to my family. The next area is leisure. Interoception really underlies our ability to know what is enjoyable, like how our body feels when we're doing certain leisure pursuits. What things do we enjoy? What things bring comfort and pleasurable feelings to our body? What things don't? What things are aversive? What things do we not enjoy? And how do we get rid of or get away from those things that we don't enjoy? So really, if we're connected to our body can provide very valuable information about what things feel restorative, what things feel joyful to our body, and what things do not. So interoception really has a strong influence in our ability to identify leisure pursuits and to know what is most meaningful to us. Let's talk about the area of school participation, right? Interoception is a really big deal to many factors of school participation. One biggie that we hear from so many people is being able to stay regulated within the school environment. That includes emotional regulation, so being able to understand our bodies enough to know when maybe we're getting overwhelmed or anxious or frustrated or excited, to really understand that and to know what our body needs in order to feel as regulated and comfortable to thrive in the school environment. Interoception underlies our ability to know what things help us to stay focused, to help us to feel safe in the classroom, to be able to advocate for that. If we understand what our body needs, that underlies our ability to be able to tell other people what it is that we need for school success. So interoception, there's so many influences there for school participation. It really needs to be a big consideration within each school system. Let's talk about work. Many people have employment, and interoception really underlies the ability to participate in the work environment. So like what things does our body need in order to thrive, to stay focused, to be productive? Do we understand the sensory environment around us and what things help us, our bodies to feel as most comfortable, and what things do not make our bodies feel comfortable? Do we know how to adapt the sensory environment in order for us to be able to thrive? And so many times in all of these different areas, there's just a matter of, also when it comes to interoception, there's a matter of privilege. We might know what our body needs. And many times, because of systems of oppression and discrimination, we don't have the ability to honor what our body needs. So I think that's really important to point out and recognize. But really understanding our bodies and what our bodies need within a work environment is very critical to us being the most productive employee, and to avoid burnout, and to really thrive and find a job that is meaningful to our bodies. And then finally, let's wrap things up with pain and healthcare management. This is a really biggie. Interoception is the sense of pain. It's how we experience pain. So this is a very tight connection. So really being able to notice certain sensations in your body and understand them. Are they painful? Can you point out where that sensation is coming from? Are you able to communicate that when needed to a healthcare provider? And again, there is a matter of privilege here. Is the healthcare provider validating your interoceptive experience and what you are sharing? I know there's a lot of invalidation out there that happens for many people. But many times this interoception is instrumental in helping us to understand our bodies and how it's feeling, whether there's a looming illness or there's an injury, and really being able to conceptualize that within our bodies and to share that so that we can get proper medical care. So there's so many other areas that interoception influences. But just a final thought for today is that we really need interoception. There's so many professionals out there that are learning about this topic, and I'm going to just speak to my fellow OTPs. There's surveys happening right now, survey research that's indicating that many OTPs now know about the sense of interoception, yet are not using it in their practice. They see the interoception barriers for their clients, yet they are not using interoception assessments or supports to help their clients participate. So I hope this blog provides yet another rationale of why we need this sense, and hopefully inspire some more learning. Until next time.